Okay, wow, that's not enough light. Oh, got brighter. Okay. So I titled this video the way I did because when I was searching for help online, which I do every day, all the time, um, I did not put in keywords that had something to do with like a psychological diagnosis. So I would put in exactly what I would that I titled this video. So just to be able to attract more poor souls who might need help in this way. I mean, this is why I'm sharing these videos, because I might have a different perspective than a lot of the other really good people out there that are making videos, like people that are not doctors or not um, uh, therapists or anything. They're just people living a life that is unrelated to all the shit that's going on for them. So anyway, I mean, I'm not younger, but looking at myself in the image right here, I almost think like I look younger than my first videos. And that's because I'm now in a state, having left physically separated from my spouse. I'm not legally separated or legally divorced, but we are living separately now. um, I'm now experiencing what is what I call peace. And recently, it's only because recently I've put together the simplicity of the idea that that saying that they say, it's so simple: God is love, right? God is love, and love is peace. I put that together. So God is love, love is peace, which means peace is God, right? So if you're not in a state of peace, or not peaceful, or you're not feeling peace, or you're not sharing peace, and there's turmoil and turbulence and uproar and arguing and fighting every day, every moment, every other moment, then that is not a loving relationship. It's as simple as that. There's no such thing as dysfunctional love. That's it. It's not love if there is no peace. It's something else. It's not love. And I think I may have said this in another video, where the word love is misused, it's overused, like if referring to someone that you're I like how Dr. Armani says difficult people. She also refers to them as narcissists. Same thing. Difficult person can be a narcissist, vice versa. Somebody doesn't have to have narcissism to be difficult. Somebody does not have to have a borderline personality to be difficult, or they can. Or if they have either, or both, or any of those things, or are eliciting uh, traits and actions that are difficult, then they are not peaceful. And you're not going to be peaceful with that person either. So you're not going to have love. So coming from a 27-year relationship with this person that I even knew when I was a kid, um, you'd have to see my other videos for that kind of thing. But I'm experiencing right now this, what I mean by repetitive is that this peace, the sensation of no stress, is repeats itself throughout the day, all day, because I'm no longer contending with the uh, everything that was flying at me being in the relationship. And I love being alone so much. I will never trade this peace that I now know, for anything ever, ever. Like I told a friend, I don't care if I die alone. I mean, why is it a thing that people say, oh, the person died alone? It's fine. It's fine to die alone when the right time comes, when your time is up. You want to be here as long as you can to make the best of your stay here and the best impact you possibly can on humanity, because you were brought here somehow miraculously to do that. That's the purpose of being here, to bring and share more happiness and more peace. That's the idea. Have happiness, share it, bring it. So, um, and that's with the deserving people, as Brene Brown also says, that it's people that have earned that right. And you have to decipher who's earned it, entitled, and who hasn't. They're entitled. You're you're entitling them to have it, not that they're entitled. You're entitling that person to be on the receiving end of your love. Again, love is peace. I believe I wrote a play last year, um, and I'm writing this entire 100 episode series, and I'm up to episode 97. This is writing has been the only thing that saved me. And interestingly, I'm kind of like writing less as I keep enjoying more peace. Um, I forget what I was going to say now. Something about I wrote. Anyway, I wrote something. I can't even remember. I could go off on tangents, but writing. Um, just a quick background on the idea of experiencing peace, which is life and which is joy, for the first time for an extended period, is because I am that typical case that they talk about, that came from a extreme in childhood home, where there was deprivation and neglect, not physical deprivation per se, but emotional and deprivation, physical abuse. Day, because I read every day. I'm looking and searching and connecting every day with my online um, knowledge amassment. And I know a lot now from the experience of searching for myself, and for um, I'm not searching for the me, because I know what and who I am. It just me from when I was young, and me for where my life went. I was forgotten. I forgot myself, because in the trauma uh, upbringing that I had, I was what you'd call the black sheep, the truth teller, um, and the scapegoat. So, in that regard, within the confines of those awful circumstances, I was fortunate, because my siblings are still at this stage in their life. It would take a miracle to get them out, because some of them were the golden child, some of them even within the abuse that they were receiving, because they received the same uh, along the same spectrum of treatment. I got it pretty bad, if not the worst, but perhaps I even think they got it. Their lives are even more compromised. So the only thing that saved me, even though I physically got the worst, I think that emotionally, and physical abuse is emotional abuse, but emotional abuse doesn't necessarily have to be physical. So I got it the worst physically, which is but being the truth teller, black sheep, scapegoat, I knew from a young age that however my parents were treating me was wrong, and that their behavior and choices were wrong. And I would tell them, and I then received the punishment, because I would mouth off and say exactly what I thought. And I was very brazen um, within those circumstances. But I got out and then slipped right into uh, a toxic relationship. There was not physical abuse in the relationship, but there was neglect and arguing and uproars and all that. And I quote and not quote, but I cite, not cite, but I reference, but not reference. I I talk about other books that I've read along the ways, like Games People Play and I'm Okay, You're Okay. The works of the Marshall Linehan, and a lot of these YouTube videos also feature these doctors that have written books. I'm working on The Body Keeps the Score right now, so which is excellent. Okay, if that's the one book, the first book you got to go to, because I've also suffered the physical ramifications of being in the relationship. I am a cancer survivor. I survived cancer 12 years ago. I went through it in 2008, 2000. I had tumors in 2007. I had a Hodgkin's lymphoma, and then went through treatment. This is all through this toxic relationship. And then I could not extract myself until last year. So I made my little list of things I want to talk about people in my position that I liked. The last YouTube channel of a person in similar situation that was with a narcissist. Her YouTube channel is Narcissist Schmarcissist, and she's pretty good. The only thing that I didn't understand so much was, probably because she wasn't a truth teller, that she couldn't. And you see, the dynamic was different because she loved her father, and her father was very good to her, but the father was with this awful mother. I had neither parent to turn to, so in that regard, for me, it was easier to see that they were both narcissistic. I think my mom definitely borderline narcissist, my father narcissist, not necessarily borderline, but and then their parentage, just awful. So their abilities were so limited, and they turn to um, arguing, and there's just no listening, no feelings being taken into consideration. It's just a mess. So in her regard, there was things I didn't understand, like why she lingered with the mother as long as she did. But but that's part of it, because you want to try to fix. Okay, so some of my things is, when people talk about stress, and I had talked about stress all my life. I'm so stressed out. I'm stressed. I'm stressed. Again, stress is a tension that we hold in the body. And for people like me, don't even know what it's like to not have this tension. So I didn't even know that it was tension. So it took me a while to realize, actually, during cancer 12 years ago, I recognized that that stress is tension held in the body. So only recently, because I also developed high blood pressure, um, I realized that was related to tension in the body as well. And I just read in The Body Keeps the Score that an inhale increases increases adrenaline, and exhale, or an inhale activates the sympathetic nervous system, and an exhale activates the parasympathetic, which is the release. So amazingly, I've been able to, at times when I focus on it, take these deep, big breaths. I call them, not deep breaths. They're more like, and the exhale is nice and long. And it's, before bed or when you're waking up, to do that if you have attention, because I realized that I had high blood pressure even while I slept, because your mind is needing to organize the stuff in your brain before you wake up, and that's why you need enough sleep for that to do all that, so that you're not thinking of the bullshit, okay, throughout even the night. And then if you wake up too early, then that bullshit is not all sorted. And even if it's not all bullshit, but it's usually the bullshit that causes the high blood pressure. So know of that. So another thing that I figured out about stress is stress this, stress that. You know what stress is? It's other people. Stress is a people thing. It Yes, it could be like your own self goals or whatever, but then, or and then it could be like, oh, stress is against yourself. Um, Meaning that, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that. And that's your own self made goal that then becomes stressful. Then, what I learned during cancer is that you have to take breaks, lots of breaks in between, even if it's a break every 10 minutes away from the thing or the task that's causing you the stress. So, okay, so that's that. But stress is other people. So if you find yourself thinking about so and so or somebody where there was a interaction that was unpleasant, that then you ruminate and you wish you said this, you wish you said that, or what if this happened, what if that happened. The what if is good for performing, acting, whatever. If you take a class in acting or whatever, they do the what if thing. It is not good for real life. Do not go down the road of what if ever, because that only gets the imagination stirring. That if you're not sublimating that into creativity, and even if you do sublimate that into some sort of creativity, it is not good to just sit there and think about that stuff. And that stuff is then other people, is stressful, which is the thinking about the other person is stressful. And then there's the tension in the body, and then your ventral vagal is activated, and then you go into shallow breathing. And shallow breathing means you're not getting enough oxygen to your organs, and then you develop high blood pressure. And then with that high blood pressure, the reason why there's the pressure in your blood is high is because it's trying to oxygenate those organs. So if it doesn't get enough oxygen to those organs, then you're going to go into organ failure. Okay, that's the idea. So we have to be connected to our bodies, and like we have the all the means to not have other people in our lives. You look at the people that have come out of circumstances where they didn't think financially they'd make it, and they did. Had all kinds of adversity, and we're working with, biases, and there's nobody in their lives, and there's, racial inequality or whatever it is, and yet there are people from all of those groups that have gotten out when they are in these kind of situations. They do it. So you look at those people, okay, and use them as inspiration. People that are just as bad off as you, or even worse off, that extracted themselves. Somehow you have to find that strength. The strength is courage. Okay, that's the other thing I was thinking of, is you need strength to remain in a relationship, which actually is a different type of strength. It's in the realm of lack of awareness and cowardice. Hate to say it, but it takes strength to be the coward as well. So what you want is the strength that is for courage, and you can do it, and you are entitled to do that, and you're allowed to do that. So get out of a relationship that is not peaceful. So they talk about intuition. Also, I have my note here. The intuition is also the tension in the body, relates to tension in the body. So that's why we have to, even if your tension is not, like, let's say it's not the best decision or the most ideal decision, if you got tension in your body, that's the decision that's right for you, to be able to release that tension and make a responsible choice for yourself out of whatever it is. Get out, listen to that tension. Okay. So some of the things that they say regarding these narcissistic relationships is that the narcissist or the other person promises. It makes promises that they don't follow through on or whatever. In my particular relationship, there was never promises made. The word promise from early on was like shunned, and it was like, it was not a trigger, but it was almost like a red flag for the narcissist. If he heard the word promise, that would be a red flag for him. And so promises were never made. And so that also, in my particular situation where there was no promises, that doesn't mean that have expectation or look forward. I had so much looking forward and so much expectation and such ideal standard, not even ideals. I had regular standards. That's the thing you have to think about also, is that you almost think that what your standards are is an ideal when they're not even. It's not even an ideal. It's just normal. What you want is like normal, but you're led to think that because you can't have normal, that it's ideal. So that goes along with the promise. Okay, so that's in a lot, the lack of promise, but having the high expectation, high hope, that turns into toxic hope. So when I lost hope, and then I was able to say for myself, fuck hope, which is a terrible thing to say, but it was necessary to allow myself to think that in regards to the awful relationship I was in. So, and it helped me get out. Okay. I mean, there were mornings where he would wake up, or if I started, wanting to sort something out again, or, all the topics were recurring, he would wake up and just say, fuck. He'd wake up and say, fuck my life. All right. He would say that. And so that was an internal attack on himself because he was also self-harming and suicidal. That was a self-attack that displaced, if it was displaced I'm hearing it, that means it was towards me, like me in his life, and attending to these massive grave issues that if they were ever attended to and resolved, that's the other thing, instead of like irreconcilable differences, when I go to get my divorce packet and they say you have to list something, I'm like, list the reason for divorce. It's like the list is like endless, but basically it's irreparable offenses. That's the way I look at what has transpired and what it is, because you can't resolve these issues. It's impossible to resolve them. So that's what he would say many, many mornings, when I would attempt and still had hope, or it wasn't even hope. It was my task. It was like, that was my job for the day, to calm myself down, or to try to get to a sense of calm, which I never could, but I did constantly approach it. So, my God, if you find yourself in that situation, get out. Get out. You can. I did it. They talk about also silent treatment. The silent treatment, I wouldn't receive silent treatment in the way that I was familiar growing up with what silent treatment sounded like. My former partner, soon to be former partner, who is not living with me anymore, would avoid speaking about whatever the subject was that I was concerned with. So in that way, that subject was silenced. There would be silence on his end. And I honestly don't even, I don't like, I'm not too into that phrase, but I wholeheartedly believe that he does not have the capacity to see the depths of some of these simple, reasonable factors that need to be in a loving, peaceful relationship. So I don't even think he has the capacities to that, because they're non-existent in him. I mean, actually, Bessel van der Kolk is beginning to touch on this in his Body Keeps the Score, because I'm only like 100 pages in so far. Actually, 200 pages in. I'm 200 pages in so far. Is something that I had said before, that there isn't a rehabilitation that needs to take place with, unfortunately, these trauma people, and me being one of them, but I'm more of the, as they say, the empath, but I don't consider myself an empath at all. But I don't consider myself a narcissist at all. I consider myself, like they say, a target that came from trauma. And when you come from trauma, nobody gets out unscathed. You will have elements within your life that where you are going to be compromised financially, socially, um, just in life in general. So my compromise is slightly different than my former spouse. It's a little less because I have an awareness. I actually have the awareness to look towards these issues, eh, acknowledge that there is an issue, and then want to resolve it. Some of these people, they just float by in life and just continue living the way they've always lived, the best they knew how with the skills they have, so that their skills and awareness is limited, nor do they have enough desire. It's just so horrible and so bad. And here I was thinking that uh, he's ignoring these aspects on purpose, like punishing me. But I had to release that as well. Release meaning I had to become aware of that as well by observing, like that one guy wrote the human magnet syndrome, that technique of observe, don't absorb technique. When they're giving, you should just watch the person so that you're not absorbing and getting all tense to try to resolve, because that's your partner. That's the only person that's there to fulfill what you need fulfilled within you. And then they aren't doing it and they can't do it. So the idea is to understand that the person that you're having all these problems with, that won't resolve, that can't resolve, that there's no will to resolve it on their end, their abilities are limited. Okay, so the other thing that they say, I know this is like, I'm talking about things that I've heard the other therapists say in these videos, and I mostly only listen to doctors or therapists. I do listen to some people that have the experiences, because I don't really like people that call themselves or consider themselves experts. I think that's so rude and kind of pompous. But if they call themselves a specialist, which most of them don't, or they don't even refer to themselves as specialists, but they refer to themselves as a doctor, I'm more receptive to that, because to me, uh, uh, just like a doctor who becomes a specialist, they're already a doctor and then they begin to specialize. But somebody that's an expert or a self-proclaimed expert, I tread lightly, grain of salted, even though there are some people that I do watch because they've done so much work on themselves and they claim to have gone from here to there. But either way, they're working on themselves, which is a good thing, and they're sharing their work. But you'll be able to tell like how far someone's come along and how stable they are, because that's what it's about. It's about stability. So, okay, so some of these people, even the doctors, will say, you can't judge what this person's going to do from one day to the next. One day they're this, and the next day they're that. Well, just to let you know that these types of situations and people, it's not a day that's a good day. It's not a day that is a bad day. Okay. It could be moment to moment, hour to hour. Suddenly everything's shit. Suddenly things seem nice. Suddenly we're in agreement. Suddenly we're not in agreement anymore. You say the wrong word. You go into the wrong topic. You want to repair something. You want to point out something that could be better. You want to point out a behavior that is unpalatable, unattractive, or unfavorable. And it could happen like that. That good day is now a bad day. So it's not one day to the next. And I just wanted to point that out. It's moment by moment that this shit can go down and the shit can go up. So I think that I finished whatever I wanted to say for today. There's one other thing that I wanted to, maybe I'll touch on this. Um, as I'm as I'm again experiencing my ownness, my oneness of myself, and enjoying my peace, being alone, which I loved, and thank God for the other single people that are my friends, even some of my siblings that are alone and single. I'm like, well, if they could do it, I could do it. Relationship is a choice. Relationship is a choice to share your happiness and love with somebody. So you got to pick the right person. And if you didn't pick the right person, then, uh, reconcile that within yourself and acknowledge that and get out. So even if there's nobody else, doesn't matter. For me, there's nobody else, which is fine with me. I'm enjoying my aloneness. You'll be surprised how much you'll enjoy your aloneness and the peace. So that, I think I talked about this in another video about opposite pain, and how that's what I call it, is when I went through my trauma bond withdrawal while my spouse was still in the house, in the apartment, in the one bedroom, I'll just say. I went through withdrawal because I knew that it was hopeless and that the relationship was beyond dead, beyond repair. There's nothing I could do. And now, he was lingering until I had to say the word. If you love somebody, set them free, whatever. He was supposed to do that for me, but he wasn't going to do that for me because he saw me struggling and suffering, but he didn't do that for me. And I saw him struggling and suffering, but in a different way, because I was able to give him everything that he wanted. And he knew that and was clinging to that, but he couldn't help himself control himself because of all his problems. So I wasn't getting what I wanted, which was peace, right? And he wasn't at peace. He wasn't receiving peace from me either because of it. But he was the initiator and instigator of these awful actions and choices he'd make that would cause these uproars. I was doing everything to benefit. I was a sucker. He was the parasite. I was the sucker. All right. I was used and I felt it. All right. So when you go through the withdrawal of the trauma bond, even if you're in the same vicinity of the person and still living day to day with them, what happens is, and I think I talked about this in another video, but I'll try to keep it short, is you go through an opposite pain. Okay, so I'll just talk about me and people that are givers, and even for people that, like my former spouse, who love to give. It's a natural feeling to give for people that like to give, but when you have to stop giving, it's painful. So because you have so much to give and you have love to give and you want to share that. So when you make the choice not to share that anymore because it's not going to the right person and the right recipient, there's not a reciprocity in the quality and the type of giving, then you go through withdrawal. And that's what I call opposite pain, because it's very painful. It's like they say, it's just like they say, a drug withdrawal. It's like the chemicals in your brain are withdrawing themselves from itself, because the quality of giving is the feeling of what the feelings you are generating, the chemical feelings you are generating inside of yourself to actually give. So that is of the love emotion. The emotion is a part of love. Love isn't only emotion. It's many facets and areas. But, and it's one of those, is it a syllogism? It goes one way, but it doesn't go the other. Love is emotion, but not all emotion is love, or something. So to stop the love and stopping the recipient of this quality of romantic love, this is specifically romantic love, because loving yourself is a type of love. In sharing joy with a friend is a type of love, but romantic love, the recipient of romantic love, when you stop giving the hopes and dreams and wishes and little things you do for people and to get them to see their smile or to share excitement, that is painful to stop doing. And especially if you've always been doing it and you've always given of yourself in that way on a daily basis every day, even mixed in with the fighting, then you go back to giving, right? So this is like I'm spiritual Christian, so I do read the Bible. I've read the entire New Testament. So this, I like to equate something so ancient, but so true from what those scholars put in the Bible and what Jesus's words were. So including in that. So I wanted to say, I use this term, now I'm just Caesaring, because Jesus said, give to Caesar what is Caesar's, give to God's what is God's, because God is the emotion. That's what he was about. He was about what the best things in life are free. All right, that's love. And in my play, maybe this is what I wanted to say in my play, and so are the worst things. Okay, so, and the worst things are part of the emotional world too, because they're free too. So now I say, now that I've gone through the withdrawal and broke the trauma bond, I would say trauma bond is worse than codependent, but I believe I wasn't codependent, even though I was operating codependent, because once I knew that trauma bond was there, I broke it and got out. There's a difference, because some people that are trauma bonded and codependent or just codependent, they remain. So that's the difference. That's why I keep saying, get out, get out. Like they all say, get out. The people that got out, get out. Got out, they say, get out. No matter how much you love the person. And I still love my spouse. Okay, I still love my spouse, but I'm no longer participating with him, contributing with him. He's got to do his own thing. And that's my gift to him, because he was never independent. I probably shared that in other videos. So I say I'm Caesaring now. Give to Caesar's what is Caesar, give to God's what is God. Because everything we see in this world is all about Caesar. Everything we do, everything we eat, make the money. It's all about giving money, getting that money to pay, getting around. But you see, they were equal. This is how smart Jesus was. He gave equal weight to it, because one fosters and buoys the other. Because what do we learn about responsibility? Responsibility is kind of like the Caesar thing. So that's why you could have all that stuff in line, finances. That's why somebody could have a roof over their head, financially taken care of. That's the Caesar part taken care of. But if there's emotional deprivation, emotional neglect, that's the God part that's missing. And that's what's so damaging and traumatizing and makes people's life miserable and actually affects the Caesar. Because then you can't make money, you can't socially interact with people well enough to continue to foster a balanced, happy, healthy, joyous life. So you need both. So right now, I would say I'm just Caesaring. I hope not to always be in that way, and I'm okay with it, because I have acknowledged the love within me and I know it's there, and I can keep nourishing it by being peaceful and staying at peace and not trading my peace. So that's how I nourish the love and keep it, so that if somebody does come along that I want to share the love with, and I'm really going to be really fucking selective. I don't need anybody. That's the great thing. When you don't need anybody, you're okay. That's how you know you're okay. When you don't need anybody. So, that's that. I think I talked enough about this. I hope you think I'm looking better. I hope you think that whatever I may have said spoke to you in a certain way to help you out of the bullshit that you might be in. All right, it's all bullshit. It's fucking bullshit. It's hell. Another, Buddhists call it suffering. The Judeo-Christians call it hell. All right, same thing. Suffering is hell. Unhappiness, confusion, hell. That's where the devil lives. In hell. That's where suffering Okay, so you don't want to talk about the devil or whatever. God, that's why the Buddhists came up with a great word, suffering. But you know what that equals? Hell. So get out of it. I'll talk. Oh, I wanted to share a song, and I was going to be brazen enough to sing it karaoke because I learned today there's many songs that help me. Like It's in His Kiss, such a silly song, and it's very very wise and meaningful. Because does he love me? I want to know. How can I tell if he loves me so? Same thing with a man receiving. And they go through all the things. Is it in his eyes? Oh, no. Is it in his warm embrace? No, it's in his kiss, right? I didn't listen to that. I'll just tell you that. I didn't listen to that. And I kept trying to teach my former spouse how to do it, how I'd like it. I had no guidance, okay? And nobody understands unless you tell them. Nobody knows what goes on behind closed doors unless you inform them. That was part of the other. My husband would be, if he has a diagnosis of borderline personality disorder, but I think he's got more. It's like with the comorbidity, narcissistic, and according to Bessel van Lokerk, developmental uh, developmental trauma disorder. That's what it would be if it wasn't in DSM-5. Okay, because it's not in the DSM-5. That's more accurate. So these people with a developmental disorder either become they get a disorder. They get a different disorder that is considered in the DSM-5, and yeah, then they're about the anus kiss. Yeah, so I was trying to teach. No, no, no. Do not, just do not teach anybody. They have to be already formed and match you in your abilities. It's sad because not all people are created equal. All men are created equal. Excuse me, but no, because development of a child is part of the creation of that mental capacity. So by the time they're going into a relationship, romantic relationship with somebody, that's where the mutuality has to be gauged. All right. And there's no changing or teaching somebody. Listen to R.C. Blake's, and he talks about that. So the other song that helps me, I mean, there's many songs that help me because they say this can happen to anybody. I'm like, yeah, but I'm the asshole, right? I'm the asshole that this happened to me. How could I be so stupid? How could I do, it? And part of that was staying in the relationship for so long is the refusal to admit that this would happen to me, that it cannot possibly have happened to me. How could I be? I'm not going to allow myself to accept how stupid I feel, even to hear, even to acknowledge that is a possibility within myself was very difficult. But I'm okay with that too because I know peace now, right? So the other one, which is really good, is Everybody Plays the Fool. And that man died today. I not die. I found out he died today. I think they said June 17th he died, 10 days ago. Poor guy. Ken Williams was his name. So when I hear that song, I'm like, yeah, I've heard it for years. That's a damn good song because I would even say to my former spouse when he was still living here, he was still my spouse, and he still is my spouse technically, but we're not living together. What am I, the fool? I'd say to him, so you're making me the fool? I'm the fool now. Well, you fooled me. I'm a fool. Are you happy about that? Are you content with that? That your wife can now say and is saying that she's been fooled and is a fool. So this guy helps us out. Uh, so I'll just leave you with this because it's extremely important. And he may not have been in a narcissistic relationship, but he went through this. Okay, so your heart broke. You sit around moping, crying. You say you even thinking about dying. Well, before you do anything rash, dig. I'm early. Dig this. Everybody plays the fool sometimes. No exception to the rule. Listen, baby, it may be factual, may be cruel. I ain't lying. Everybody plays the fool. Okay, so this next line, I was never in love with my husband. Falling in love is such an easy thing to do. And there's no guarantee that the one you love is gonna love you. Oh, loving eyes they cannot see. A certain person could never be. Love runs deeper than any ocean. It clouds your mind with emotion. Everybody plays the fool sometimes. There's no exception to the rule. Listen, baby, it may be factual, may be cruel. I want to tell you that everybody plays the fool. So I wanted to say I was never in love with my husband because to be in love with somebody, they have to music starts to play, and your ability to reason is swept away. Oh, heaven and earth is all you see. You're out of touch with reality, and now you cry. But when you do, next time round, someone cries for you. Everybody plays the fool sometimes. They use your heart just like a tool. Listen, baby, they never tell you so in school. I want to say it again. Everybody plays the fool. Listen, baby, everybody plays the fool sometimes. No exception to the rule. Maybe factual, maybe cruel. Sometimes everybody plays the fool. Listen, baby, everybody plays the fool. Okay, so I was really I really shared that with you, didn't I? But I wanted to say, to be in love with somebody, they have to show up for you in the way you need them to show up for you. That's how you know when you're in love. Now, like I said, I love my husband very, very much, and I wanted him so badly to show up for me in the way I needed him to show up for me. But he never would, never did, and never could. It was there from, I guess I realized that the first 4 months into the relationship. Yeah, right after the 4th month when we became intimate, in the most in-depth way. Shortly after that, I really, it like the body keeps the score. Okay, the body knows. So, and then it was downhill from there, and 27 years of downhill. So, get out. All right. Thanks for watching, and I hope it helps. End.